Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we need to go through the final reveals for Darkwing Blast. We got 13 whole cards here last night. I was looking for them really late last night. I could not find them on the Reddit link or like whatever Reddit page it was on. I could not find it. But yeah, we got to zoom through these. There's 13 whole cards. I don't want this video to be like 25 minutes, so let's just jump into it. I guess before that, I say sub to the channel if you want to stay updated on all Yu-Gi-Oh news, and also follow me on Twitter. I'll throw a link in the description. But yeah, that's my YouTube stuff. All right, let's jump into this. Starting off with the Hanshin Kyudo Spirit. This is one of those Spirit Pendulum Warrior guys. It's a level 5 Wind Warrior Pendulum Spirit, 2400 attack, 1000 defense, scale 9, big ol' scale. Pendulum effect is like the Spirit one. If a monster's pendulum summon, you return this card in scale to the hand, basically. Cool. Just resets your scales, kind of, or just gets it to hand to be normal summoned. And when this card is normal summoned, you return as many cards in the same columns as your cards in the pendulum zone as possible to the hand. Then you can add one monster with 2400 attack, 1000 defense from deck to hand. That's actually the Monarch stats, which is funny enough. But this card only returns your cards in the same column. So it's not even like you could potentially punish your opponent by bouncing their stuff. You just can only bounce yours to try and search. And it takes your normal. You'd have to tribute summon it. Meh. And of course, on the end phase, when this is normal summon, it bounces back to hand. Basic Spirit stuff. It's a fine card. Nothing crazy. Next up here, we move to Laughing Puffin, the Jester Bird. It's a level 4 Darkwing Beast, 1000 attack, 1700 defense, 2 hard ones return effects. If there's a face-up spell or trap on the field, you can special summon this card from the hand. Okay, decent little extender. That's pretty easy to do. You contribute a Winged Beast, then target a face-up spell or trap on the field, return it to the hand. Also, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with that name for the rest of the turn. This is a quick effect if all monsters you control are Winged Beast. Pretty interesting. One, I just think about being able to potentially like use this to like reset a field spell. You won't be able to activate it again that turn, but like as follow-up, kind of like use a searching field spell, get that to pop off, then just bounce it back with this card and kind of just have it again for next turn. Like, that's fine. Also, this is just a level 4 Darkwing Beast extender. Black Wings play with stuff like Black Whirlwind, so this kind of can be played there. But also just any deck that like consistently plays that. And also, if you control all Winged Beasts, this card also kind of like hits stuff like Fateful Adventure to keep the Adventure engine from like resolving for your opponent going second. Like, there's definitely some niche uses here for sure. This one's a little more interesting to me. Next up here, we have Doom Tune GT19, a level 3 Fire Machine Flip Tuner effect monster. 500 attack, 1500 defense. You can only use one of its effects per turn, but not both, which is interesting. On flip, you can declare a level from 1 to 9, and this card becomes that level till the end of the turn. Also, during the main phase, if this card was flipped face up as a quick effect, you can target one other face-up monster on the field, and immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using only that monster and this card. That's particularly interesting to me, just because if you can, sorry, it's early in the morning for your boy. When this card is flipped face up, you can if you can get it to flip on the opponent's turn at quick speed, you can target one of their cards and like quick synchro off with it, which is pretty cool, but you're not always going to be able to rely on your opponent having the right levels for you, so that's definitely the one drawback. But I guess if you do have space to play like kind of an array of like possible synchro targets in your extra deck, like this card's actually pretty powerful. Like, rip a card off your opponent's field to then like synchro into another big body, like, it's pretty good. Next up here, we go to Psychic Rover, a level 2 Dark Psychic Effect monster, 0 attack, 700 defense. If this card is special summoned, roll a 6-sided die. If the result is 1 or 6, destroy up to 2 cards on the field. Wow, that is such a huge payoff for hitting, but also only a 1 in 3 chance of hitting. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, roll a 6-sided die. If you hit a 2 through 5, special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck while this card is summoned this way in the monster zone. That second effect is just weird because the restriction is actually quite brutal. Normally you'd want to clear a monster like this off the field via going into the extra deck. So second effect is less good, but the first effect is funny. Like, like set E-Telly, activate E-Telly on the opponent's turn to summon this and like potentially just ruin their day with a double pop when you get really lucky on this. That's about all I can really think of for this card. I mean, really. But it's interesting. And the next monster, sorry, not the last monster, is Sudden Return Horse or Spirit Comeback Horse. It's a level 8 Dark Plant. 100 attack, 2000 defense. You can only use the second effect once per turn. Unless it is the battle phase, send this card to the graveyard. Uh-oh. At the start of the battle phase, if this card is in grave, send a plant monster from hand or field to the grave to special summon this. Then you can summon a monster from either grave to your field, but send all monsters special summoned by this effect to the graveyard at the end of the battle phase. I mean, I guess it just... this thing has 100 attack, so like it's a battle phase card that like doesn't even apply pressure to your opponent by itself. Like it needs like other more powerful cards to apply the pressure mostly. I don't know, man. This card just seems like so specific, so niche, so whack. And the last monster we have, main deck monster at least, is Amirta Kalupo. This is a level 4 Dark Beast Warrior, 14/14 for the stats. Second effect's a hard once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can equip the top card of your deck to this card as a face-down equip spell that gives it 500 attack. Okay. During each end phase, your opponent calls the original type of card, monster, spell, or trap, equipped by this card's first effect. And if they call it correctly, send this card to the graveyard. Otherwise, discard one random card from their hand, and if you do, return this card to the hand. Kind of interesting. Gives you a way to potentially hand rip your opponent. I just think at the end of the day, if it's going to be based on luck and your opponent like guessing wrong, it's just not going to be reliable enough. Even if you build your deck to give you the best possible chance at your opponent like whiffing on their guess, that still is probably going to be like at like worst a 33% chance for them, which is just probably too high still, you know, for this to be consistent, because otherwise you just lose this for no reason, like literally for free for your opponent. So, you know, interesting card, but like not, I don't think it'll have enough like consistency to really make it. Next up here we get to Reincarnating Shamasen Calico, a level 3 Dark Zombie Synchro Tuner. Okay, Synchro Tuner, level 3, 1600 attack, 1200 defense. It is completely generic, takes any tuners and non-tuners. Both effects are hard once per turn. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, do a synchro summon, including this card, pretty much. Really cool. We know we have Formula Synchron as a level 2. We've got stuff like, is it Excel Synchron or Excel... the Excel Synchro Monster, that's level 4. There's TG Wonder Magician for level 5, Desert Locust at level 6, and you know, you could even argue like Shooting Riser Dragon at level 7. So there's a bunch of these, but I don't think we have a level 3 one, which is pretty spicy. Secondly, if this card is in the grave, you can target an other Synchro monster in grave, return it to the extra, and if you do, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Also pretty nice, the fact that this just comes back for you. I mean, you could literally make this turn 1, just like Synchro Climb, and then just like bring it back and pass turn, and then this adds an additional layer of like interruption in letting you quick Synchro again on your opponent's turn into another boss monster. Pretty spicy. I think this card's actually quite good. I could see us like finding space for this, for sure. In like synchro decks, especially if we keep Hulk around, because Hulk can just cheat this out as well, and having that level 3 option could be pretty nice. All right, cool. Next up here we have Volo the Doom Originator Vassal Dragon. This is a rank 6 zombie, 2400 attack, 1300 defense. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for every card in your opponent's grave. That is crazy. That could easily get up to 20 cards in a grindy duel. And like 10 easily. And the fact that this card already starts at 24 is kind of crazy. I would almost expect a card with that effect to start at like 1,000. Because it just get to 2,000 fairly easily, 3,000 if the duel's a little longer. But the fact that it could super easily be like 3,400, no questions asked, like that's pretty crazy. And the second effect is a quick effect where you can target any card in your opponent's graveyard, then detach 1 or 2 materials based on the effect you want to use. If you detach 1, you just shuffle that card into the deck. Pretty simple. Target a card and shuffle it back. That's a monster spell or trap, by the way. So even against like the Eldritch Engine, being able to cut them off from from like their resource line is pretty good. And just be a DD Crow in general. It's nice, and it means you can use it 2 turns in a row too, which is nice. Second effect, if it is a monster and you detach 2, special summon it to your field in face-up attack, face-up defense, or face-down defense. Okay, so just steal it. No restriction on that, by the way. Battle phase restriction, effect restriction. You can still tribute it, all that stuff. It's pretty cool. Otherwise, set it to your field. So I'm pretty sure this is just saying if you targeted a spell or trap, you can just set it to your field. Which means if your opponent just like goes through a really powerful spell trap, this card can just steal it and set it straight for you. That is kind of crazy. Like actually, that's actually so crazy to me. Really, really powerful effects here. Even if you just use the first effect to mess with your opponent's grave, that's solid. But even the second effect could have like insane value. I mean, you could make this and without activating an effect, be big enough to walk over a Baronne de Fleur and then just use the second effect to revive the Baronne. And now you have a negate. Your Baronne's probably 4,000. This guy's probably 35. And you're scary. I mean, just downright scary. So pretty cool, pretty interesting. I like this card a lot. I could easily see a deck like Virtual World taking advantage of this, or maybe some of these other decks like Drytron makes Beatrice, like that's what they do. So I don't know, decks like those that can actually make those rank 6s, this could be a welcome addition. This card is pretty damn good for sure. I like it. All right, moving on to spells. Calamity upon the Hidden City. This is like a Subterra support card technically, but doesn't have Subterra in the name, unfortunately, so it's not super searchable. Continuous spell. Your opponent cannot target face-down defense monsters you control with card effects. That's nice protection. I mean, losing Guru on before it's able to flip up can definitely lose you duels in that deck, so that's nice. Monsters you control that were flipped face up while this card is on the field gains 15/15 permanently, at least while it's face up at least. That's pretty powerful. I mean, that makes Guru 31/33, and that's before you even use Final Battle. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty powerful for sure. It even makes like Fiendus. Isn't Fiendus 800 attack? It makes her 2300 attack, which is decent. And if this card in your spell and trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, target a monster in your grave, special summon it face down. That's pretty decent. Like, this is like an annoying card. I could definitely see somebody dueling against Subterra being like, God, this card's so annoying. Like, I want to get rid of it. But then, like, they realize, like, if they have to get rid of it via destroying it, like Nightmare Phoenix or something, they kind of just get punished by it anyway. So it's, like, not even that worth. So, I don't know. Pretty interesting there. Interesting card. I just think the non-searchability and the fact that Subterra more so now needs support that, like, helps push its engine faster or harder, I guess. Is what it's really lacking in my opinion, and this doesn't necessarily do that. Moving on, we have True Bamboozled, a straight up bamboo card here. It's an equip spell. The equipped monster gains 0 attack. I don't even remember how bamboo cards work generally. I think it's a draw engine. I just don't remember exactly the line. I haven't watched it in like looked at in like 3 or 4 years now. If the equipped monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, you can destroy all monsters they control. Okay. So I guess you just equip this to a monster that can attack directly, and you can just wipe their board. This could be interesting in something like, oh my god, what is it called? Zodiac. Just walk your way into a Borbo, equip this to the Borbo, and, wipe their situation. It's pretty funny. If this equipped card is sent to the graveyard, you can equip one Bamboo Sword, equip spell from your deck to a face-up monster on the field. That's pretty good. The fact that you can just like equip this to a monster, blink it off, synchro it off, exit it off, and then when this card hits the grave, it should still trigger to get you any bamboo. It's pretty decent. Again, I don't remember how that engine works, but I'm sure this helps you get to your draw engine there. But outside of like Isolde decks that just already play a ton of equips, I don't know where this card would come up 100% in, so whatever. It's cool. But let me know. Let me know how this comes up if it actually seems insane. And then we move to the traps, the final cards here. We have Simult Archfiend. So this has Archfiend in the name, so this is searchable actually off of some cards, right? Isn't Archfiend, is it Empress or Princess? The little one, when it's like sent to grave by a card effect, it searches any Archfiend card. Anyway, this is a normal trap. You can only activate it once, one card with its name per turn. Neither player can special summon monsters of the same type, Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, Link, as a monster they control for the rest of this turn. Also, if you do not control more than one each of all of those, all of those that you have currently lose. Wait, you control. If you do not control more than one each. Oh, so as long as you don't have one of a single type. So as long as you don't have more than one. So as long as you only have one Fusion, one Synchro, one Exceed, one Link, or less, then all ones that you do control gain 500 attack. Whatever, it's just a 500 buff. That is like the least relevant thing about this card for sure. This card seems to me like a worse dimension barrier, right? Because it only locks your opponent out of a type they already control, so you already have to let them summon at least one of their like extra deck boss monsters or just monsters in general from the extra deck, which could already be enough depending on the deck you're playing against, right? Like sometimes the first extra deck monster a deck makes is like already threatening as hell. So I don't know. Like this one's okay, but it just seems like worse D barrier to me. But it has archfiend in the name, so it definitely can be searchable by extra decks, like specific decks. Then we get to Starcrossed Meeting, another trap card. You can only activate its 2 effects once per turn. Reveal a ritual monster in your hand. Add a ritual monster with the same level but a different name from deck to hand. Okay. And you can banish this card from your graveyard, then send a ritual spell from your hand to the graveyard. This effect becomes that card's effect that ritual summons a monster when the card is activated. Interesting. Okay, so like on the opponent's turn, you get, if you have a ritual, you get another ritual of the same level. So you essentially set up the material for the ritual summon. Then, assuming you already had the ritual spell, this card pretty much allows you to just do that ritual spell. Quick effect on the opponent's turn. I don't know off the top of my head all the best ritual targets as far as like summoning them on the opponent's turn and just like destroying their field. If they like which ritual monsters have like really powerful effects like on summon to mess with your opponent. We haven't seen a ton of like ability to quick ritual in Yu-Gi-Oh! Aside from like the Megalith cards. But still very interesting. This is a pretty interesting card. It might end up being a little bit too slow for rituals, but I still think it's interesting. I still think it's a decent card, all things considered. Definitely something I'll keep an eye on. And the final card here is another trap. This is Upside Down. This guy flipping his ramen around. The spellcaster guy. Add the bottom card of your deck to your hand. Then place one card from your deck on the bottom of the deck. Not a terrible card. I mean, this card is kind of just like, I don't know. What would you call this? Like Jar of Greed? It's kind of just one of those things where, like, if this was a spell, it would literally see play because it'd just be like Upstart Goblin, but you're essentially drawing off the bottom of your deck, right? And then you pick a brick in your deck and guarantee that it's on the bottom. That way you don't, like, draw that brick off the top on the next turn. So, like, this card would have, if this was a spell, would have arguably just been like Upstart, but better, just a little bit better. But it is not that. Also, there are random cards. There are random cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That like literally play stuff on the bottom of the deck. But I guess there are cards that randomly play stuff on the top as well. So kind of same argument for Upstart. But yeah, I don't know. This is like fine. You know, it's just too slow, right? Like it's a 1-for-1 unless you're playing a very specific deck that like very easily lets you put stuff on the bottom of your deck, very targeted. This card's not doing anything. It's just like a fun, cheeky card for sure. But yeah, pretty cool all in all. I would say like overall the gems are like mostly the extra deck stuff. I feel like cheeky. This card's kind of interesting. Could be in a very specific deck. 2 flip based. 2 die roll dependent, 2 battle phase dependent, 2 random, 2 based on like random chance that your opponent guesses right. But the synchro is solid. I could see this absolutely coming up in competitive decks. The rank 6 is really good. I could easily see Virtual World playing this as soon as it comes out. This card's fun, but like Subterrors just aren't that good right now. This card could be interesting, depending on how good it actually helps facilitate the Bamboo engine, but we'll see. Worst D-barrier. I think this is a decent card. We just already have a card that kind of does what this does, but better. This card's interesting, but again, it might be a little too slow for rituals. And then this card is nothing but hopium for sure. So yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on the final cards here. A couple hidden gems, mostly the 2 extra deck monsters, but still, I'll take it. Like the fact that we really only ended up with like 10 filler cards out of this, 80 card set. It is pretty solid, and I love that Konami's been doing this more and more and having less and less filler throughout the core sets. So I love it. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. If any of these cards have extra utility that I didn't really mention here, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, and just your overall thoughts on Darkwing Blast. I'll be making a video later this week, absolutely, talking about how good of a set I think this is. Spoiler alert, I think it's pretty good, but we'll get more into the nitty-gritty later down the line. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.